Hey there, so glad you're here. This is Reddit Stories Podcast. Relax, you're safe here. Here's our first story. My mother-in-law tried to turn our wedding into a family reunion. I'm getting married in October of 2025. My fiancé Mark, who's 33, and I, 28 female, are planning and paying for everything ourselves. It's going to be a modest wedding with around 80 guests. Mark is an only child on his side, but his mom, Susan, who's 63, is the eldest of 7 siblings. Susan and I have always had a good relationship. We've never had any major fights, and even when we've disagreed, we've always been able to talk things out like adults. We even went shopping together to help her find a dress for the wedding. She was really excited to be part of the process. Susan is Latina and has a bit of a dramatic streak, which I say with affection. Over the years, she's had ongoing issues with her siblings. Most of it happened long before I ever came into the picture, and for the most part, it didn't affect me or Mark. But here's the gist of it. A. Her brother Henry and sister Carol don't speak. Apparently, Carol had a falling out with Henry's wife about 15 years ago. She's tried to apologize, but Henry still holds a grudge. B. One of her sisters, Marcy, cheated on her husband years ago. Susan called her out for it, and since then, Marcy and her kids cut Susan off completely. C. Her youngest brother, Jose, was supposed to care for their elderly mother during her final days, but he left to go be with his wife. While alone, their mother had a stroke and passed away. The family has cut him off ever since. Mark, however, still keeps in touch with all of his cousins, even Jose's kids. When we were working on the guest list, Susan and Mark had some back and forth about who to invite. She made it clear she didn't want Marcy or Jose or any of their kids at our wedding. We ended up inviting everyone except Jose's family. His kids actually reached out to let us know they were stepping back since they knew how Susan could be, and they didn't want to cause any problems. Susan was okay with us inviting Marcy since Mark is very close with one of her sons, who is also one of his groomsmen. I've done my best to be accommodating the entire way. Of our 80 guests, 30 are his family alone. I only have 30 guests total, including my entire family. I even cut out some of my work friends and their spouses to give Mark more space to invite people. He ended up with about 20 extra spots while I took the cut. Last week, we finalized the seating chart. We've got tables of 10, and we tried to keep direct families together. For example, Henry and his wife are sitting with their son and grandkids. Now Susan is demanding that we change everything around. She doesn't want to be anywhere near Marcy, even though their tables are 2 apart. She wants Marcy and her kids moved to the back, away from everyone, and she wants all of the siblings to sit at one table. I said no, because isolating Marcy like that would be disrespectful, especially since Mark is close to that side of the family. Then Susan started making her own changes. She tried to move Carol and her husband over to the table with Mark's friends, just to avoid putting her at the same table as Henry. When I asked why that was okay, she said Henry is her twin and takes priority. At that point, I was overwhelmed. I raised my voice and said something like, "They're all adults. It's 1 hour of dinner. You can sit and eat without needing to be next to your favorites. After dinner, everyone can mingle and party however they want to." That's when she said, "Family comes first. Your friends aren't as important." And that really hit a nerve. I had already sacrificed so much of my side to accommodate hers. So I told her, "I don't care what drama you've been holding on to from 15 years ago. You can sit through dinner like everyone else. This is your son's wedding, not yours. You're not confined to your chair. You can party and socialize all you want afterward, but I'm not rearranging the whole room just to feed into some grudge." Now, I do feel a little bad. Susan never had a proper wedding of her own, just a quiet civil ceremony, so she was really excited for this. She wanted it to be special and to feel included. I get that. But I also think I was right to set boundaries. Mark agrees with me completely and says he's proud of how I handled it. Still, part of me wonders, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You did the right thing. It's your wedding, not hers, and you set a clear boundary that had to be set. She's an adult and should act like one. Better to stand firm now than deal with years of overstepping. If you cave once, it'll keep happening. You handled it well. She really does need to grow up. Enjoy your day, and don't let the drama ruin it. Stop sharing so much info. They have no right to know how you're arranging your seating. Do what you want and let them deal with it. The less they know, the less they can complain about. Let them be surprised like everyone else and focus on enjoying your day. Update for the curious potatoes. So everything from my original post happened last Sunday. My fiance was at work at the time, and Susan wanted some company while her husband was out of the country visiting his brother. Since we live just one street over, it's an easy 5-minute walk, so I went over to do some wedding planning with her. While I was reviewing contracts, rental lists, and a few other things, she asked who she would be sitting with at the wedding. That's how the whole seating arrangement started. After things escalated, I told her, "I'll let Mark come over after work and you two can talk things out." Then I left. When Mark got home, I told him everything. We have no secrets, and he's seen me at my worst, so I told him the truth, even when I knew I might be in the wrong. He was really upset. Not at me. He was mad that his mom was pushing her opinions where they weren't wanted. Later that evening, he went over and talked to Susan without me. I didn't want her to feel like we were ganging up on her. Of course, she tried to defend herself with the usual lines like, "You don't understand our generation. I just want to catch up with my siblings. It's been too long." Never mind the fact that they see each other at least once a month, twice max. Mark didn't buy it. He explained the seating chart again, calmly and clearly, but she still insisted we were being stubborn. In the end, he couldn't get through to her and came home without much progress. The next day, Monday, my father-in-law came home and stopped by that evening to talk. I guess Susan had told him everything, but only from her side, and left out the entire backstory. So Mark and I explained it all to him. How long we spent planning, how thoughtful the seating actually was, and that we weren't going to change it. He was much more understanding. In fact, he agreed that the way we arranged things made the most sense. But then he asked us to humor her. He suggested giving her my table setup to play around with, as long as she didn't add any extra tables. Now, I had used laundry clips with names attached to little cardboard cutouts to plan the wedding. It was kind of a homemade, hands-on system, but it worked really well. So we agreed to let her try. When Susan came over, we explained the conditions. If she could come up with a new arrangement where our friends weren't mixed in with her family and we didn't need to pay for another table, she was welcome to give it a shot. She lit up and started playing with the laundry clips like a kid with a Lego set. But once she finished placing her side of the family, her smile faded. She started looking puzzled, like she was trying to solve an impossible puzzle, because she couldn't figure out what to do with the rest of the guests, especially my friends and family. It got so late, we decided to step out for dinner. We brought back a burger for her, and when we returned an hour later, she was still at it, still stuck. That's when she finally admitted defeat and said our original seating made the most sense. We all laughed, and I joked that I should have let her try it from the beginning. She had her burger, we dropped the topic, and that was that. Sorry if this update wasn't as wild or dramatic as some of you might have hoped. Susan is stubborn, but to her credit, she does know how to acknowledge when something isn't working. I really appreciate Mark for standing by me through it all. Calm, strong, and steady. Every day, he shows me more and more that I'm marrying the right person. Thanks again, fellow potatoes, for all the support and validation. It truly means a lot. I'm glad it worked out the way it did, and good on you for still bringing her a burger. Congrats. I'm so glad it ended peacefully, and that she can admit when she's wrong. Holy cow, a semi-reasonable mother-in-law. What a great outcome. Props to your father-in-law, too. That was a smart move. I love the way you wrote this. I could literally picture the joy on her face turning into confusion and frustration, followed by that stubborn, focused posture as she waved you all out the door to get food. And finally, the defeated look of a cashier who just survived the Christmas rush as she conceded. Chef's kiss. And congrats on the upcoming wedding. So, Karen, how'd that wedding seating chart go?
I tried to help. It's not my fault family's complicated.
You shuffled people around like chess pieces and still lost.
Hey, I admitted I was wrong. Eventually.
Am I the jerk for saying I told you so when my boyfriend got beat up by my ex? I broke up with my ex a little over a year ago. He didn't take it well, and I don't just mean he was sad or needed space. I mean he would send me flirty texts even after I blocked his number, create new accounts to DM me, and flirt with me to my face, even when my current boyfriend was standing right there. For the last 6 months, I've been dating someone new. He's sweet, kind of nerdy, really good to me. But when it comes to my ex, he's always taken things really personally. like it was some challenge to his manhood or something. I've told him more than once that I have zero interest in my ex. I love him. I've tried to reassure him over and over, but it never really helped. He kept talking about how my ex was disrespecting us and how he wanted to shut him up. Now, I've always told him that getting into a fight would be a bad idea. First of all, it's childish. Second, and I was honest about this, my ex would probably win. He trains regularly in the gym, does martial arts, and is honestly kind of intense. My boyfriend, on the other hand, is taller, but super lean and not particularly into fitness. He's just not built for that kind of thing, and I don't want him to get hurt over some pride match with a guy I already left. But last week, he told me point blank that he was going to fight my ex at a party they'd both be at that Saturday. It wasn't even framed as a maybe. He had already decided. I begged him not to, told him he'd look foolish, that it would blow up in his face. He brushed it off and said he'd be fine. He even joked, "I'm 6 inches taller than him. What's he gonna do? Punch me in the kneecap?" I was frustrated, but I dropped it. I couldn't force him to listen. Sure enough, Saturday rolls around. The party was for a mutual friend, so I stayed home to avoid the drama. I didn't want to be there for whatever dumb thing was about to unfold. Around 11:30 that night, my phone rings. It's him. He's winded, breathing heavy, and clearly upset. I could hear noise in the background. People talking, someone laughing, music still playing. I asked him what happened, and he mumbled, "He got me pretty good." Apparently, he tried to confront my ex out back near the fire pit. Didn't even get a punch in. My ex dodged, put him in some kind of a hold, and flipped him. Nothing hospital-worthy, thank God, but definitely bruised. Mostly his ego. He came over afterward, still sore and nursing his pride. And instead of sympathy, I was just annoyed. He looked at me like he wanted comfort, and all I could say was, "I told you this would happen." Not angrily, just flatly, like what else was there to say? He got upset that I wasn't more supportive. He felt embarrassed and said I was rubbing it in. I told him I wasn't trying to, but I warned him. I told him straight up what would happen if he picked that fight. I didn't go to the party. I didn't egg him on. I didn't make this happen. And now I'm somehow the bad guy for not pretending it wasn't a disaster? He's still sulking about it, says I should have at least had his back. But the truth is, I did. Before it happened, I tried to protect him from getting hurt. I just didn't lie to him after the fact. So yeah, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You literally warned him, repeatedly. If someone runs headfirst into a wall you told them was there, they don't get to be mad at you for saying, "I told you so." He let his pride write a check his face couldn't cash. You didn't gloat. You just didn't sugarcoat the obvious. That's not unsupportive. That's reality. Look, I agree your boyfriend made a dumb move, but you knew it was coming and still chose to say, "I told you so," instead of comforting him. He was hurt, humiliated, and probably just needed reassurance in that moment. You could have waited to lecture him later. That one line probably hurt more than the punch. Sorry, but you're the jerk, OP. No one's asking, but how old are y'all? This whole thing sounds like a deleted scene from an early 2000s teen drama. Everyone in this story needs to grow up. Your ex is a creep. Your boyfriend thinks fighting will solve emotional problems, and you're sitting back like a frustrated teacher watching two kids throw rocks. This isn't how adults handle things. You're not wrong for being frustrated, but maybe ask yourself why you're still surrounded by this kind of mess.
I kind of feel bad for the guy. In a way, he just wanted to defend her.
By starting a fight he couldn't finish?
I mean, yeah, okay. But still, he probably thought it would make him look strong.
It made him look like a cautionary tale. She told him not to go.
I know. But haven't you ever done something stupid just to prove a point?
Sure, but I didn't get body slammed trying to win a girlfriend I already had.
Okay, fine, Reddit boy. I'll admit it. If we make rash decisions from hurt pride or the false self, ego, then it never turns out well for us.
Exactly. Clarity. That's where we want our decisions to come from. And the only true clarity is love. Everything else is noise trying to drown it out. Today I messed up by creating the most terrifying and embarrassing moment of my life. It's currently 1 a.m., and this happened about 20 minutes ago. I'm sitting here bawling my eyes out, still shaking, completely humiliated, and kind of in shock. I'm going to write this like I'm still living it, because honestly, I sort of am. For clarity's sake, I'll tell it as it unfolded for me without adding in details I didn't know at the time. So I'm 23, female, and I got home late tonight from work. We had an end-of-day meeting after the park closed, and I didn't get in until around 10 p.m. I was tired, sweaty, and just ready to unwind. I hopped in the shower, and after drying off, I was blow-drying my hair. Somewhere between brushing my hair and scrolling on my phone, I basically blacked out the next hour. Next thing I know, my hair is dry and I'm cozy on the couch, playing Red Dead Online. I've got my hoodie on, lights low, headphones in, completely in the zone. That's when I hear my cat Winnie let out this strange meow. Not her usual feed me chirp, but a deep, weird, almost throat-like sound. She only makes this noise when she sees something outside. I pause my game, pull off my headphones, and listen. She's now standing in the living room, staring toward the patio blinds. She lets out another long, low meow, then runs to the doorway of my bedroom and meows again. She's clearly trying to get my attention. That alone should have been enough to make me uneasy, but I'm still unsure if I'm just being paranoid. I walk into the living room. The only light is this little nightlight I keep plugged in by the kitchen. It's dim, just enough to see the outline of furniture and Winnie's shape near the blinds. That's when I see that the motion sensor light on the patio is on. My stomach drops. Winnie's staring through the blinds like she's locked on a target. Then the light goes off, and a few seconds later, it flicks back on. I'm frozen. I call my roommate, who's 26, male. He works the night shift and won't be home for another hour. He tells me to stay calm, that it's probably nothing. But Winnie is now making longer and louder yowls, like she's really upset. Then I see it. A shadow moves on the other side of the patio. My throat tightens, and before I can do anything, there's a knock at the front door. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Everything slowed down. I stood there staring at the door, absolutely frozen. I think I stood there for 30 seconds, but it was probably more like 3. I suddenly bolted to my bedroom, slammed the door, locked it, and hid in my closet. It all happened so fast. I called 911. I could barely speak. My breathing was shaky, raspy. My chest was tight. I started flashing through memories of my parents, my siblings, random childhood moments, like my brain was trying to prepare for the worst. I remember thinking, I don't want to die in a hoodie and wet hair. Total panic. The dispatcher was calm. She asked for my address and told me that 2 officers were close by. Then, silence. The kind that feels alive. I asked her where the officers were. She said they were pulling into the apartment complex. I held my breath and waited through the most painfully long 30 seconds of my life. It honestly felt like 10 minutes. Then I heard voices at the front door. Not shouting or anything, just normal talking. I told the dispatcher I could hear them. She paused and then asked me, "Did you order delivery?" My stomach dropped. My mind went blank. And then it hit me like a truck. I had ordered food earlier. I completely forgot. I called the cops on my delivery driver. The worst part? I had already tipped them online. I opened the door slowly and the food was sitting there. The driver had probably been completely unaware of the chaos they just caused. No sign of the cops. Apparently, they drove through the complex, saw nothing suspicious, and left without even crossing paths with the driver. Afterward, I sat on the floor with Winnie, holding my burger like it was the last meal of a death row inmate. My roommate came home a bit later, and once he heard the full story, he couldn't stop laughing. Even now, I still feel awful. I wasted police resources, scared myself half to death, and probably gave the delivery guy a weird vibe for life. But man, Winnie was really just trying to protect me. She's curled up next to me now like nothing ever happened. Edit. Since people keep asking, yes, I still feel terrible. Yes, I tipped the driver online. And no, the driver and the police never saw each other. The food was dropped at the door, and that was it. If it makes you feel any better, I'm a 911 operator, and I can tell you this kind of thing happens all the time. I don't think a single night goes by without someone calling in a panic, thinking someone's breaking in, only to find out it was a neighbor, a roommate, or my personal favorite, a glass jar of chocolate milk exploding. Hey Karen, how exactly does a jar of chocolate milk explode?
It was 4 a.m., Reddit boy. I heard it shatter downstairs. I thought it was go time.
You know it's bad when your dairy products are even more dramatic than you are.
Honestly, I respect the commitment. It died loud.
That's all for now, but don't be blue. We'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Redder every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright. Now click this playlist, come follow along. We'll be right here. Until then, so long.